Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, out in Bitcoin and crypto land. This is Don, the hardest working nobody in Bitcoin. This is the Defion Productions podcast, live on November 27th, 2024, the night before Thanksgiving. So let's get that out of the way. Happy Thanksgiving Eve, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, to you and your families. This is a Bitcoin and crypto podcast. We will be talking a lot of Bitcoin and crypto. Troy's going to be popping in a minute to join us live on our stream. Before we get started, let's do some Bitcoin and crypto pricing. Bitcoin currently sits at 96,405 with a market cap of 1.91 trillion. Ethereum sitting at 3630 with a 437.7 billion market cap. And we'll go over Solana because that's Troy's favorite coin. That's sitting at $243 with a market cap of 115.35 billion. Total market cap of crypto as of this moment in time sits at 3.34 trillion, and the Fear and Greed Index is at 85. Bitcoin dominance is at 57.06%, and the total market cap of crypto in the last 24 hours is up about 4.97%. Bitcoin itself is up around 4.13% in the 24 hour. It's up around $4,000 since I got up this morning. It's on a little bit of an uptick. We can bring in Troy so we can kind of talk about what's going on in the crypto sphere. What's up, Troy? How you feeling?
Good. How are you, man?
Can't complain. Another day in paradise. Another day in the podcast.
Yep.
We filmed last week. I was live from Dallas, and we talked about 100K being very, very close. We got as close as you could almost possibly get. I think the top is somewhere around 99.7, 99.8, depending on where you look. And then we did what crypto likes to do. Bitcoin dropped about 7 or 8%. Everybody thought it was over, said the top is in, pack it in, bear market. We went down to, I think, depending on where you look, around 91, somewhere in the 91 range, and settled for a little bit. And here we are back at 96.3. And I think about an hour or two ago, we were around 97. So we've been floating in the 96 to 97 range. How you feeling?
How do you feel that we didn't tap 100K?
I don't know. It's I guess we still gotta hit that to get that like true feeling, but like we got so close. It was basically a sell wall that was up there that kind of stopped us. I think people were anticipating a dip at 100 and they set their sell orders a little bit below 100, and that's kind of what caused us to sell off. That's just my thesis. I don't know how accurate that is. But I think this next run up that we get will probably go through. And I think that because we had what happened at 99.7, that we may not get that 100 and drop like I thought we would get originally. We might just go through that and start our ascent and price discovery up over 100.
How would you feel that we're transitioning to phase 2 of the bull run as far as the altcoin phases of the market?
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at Ethereum today, it's up double the price of
today.
I'm sorry?
It's up 10% today.
Right now at 8.66 in the last 24 hours, Ethereum is, and Bitcoin's up 4, so it's up about 4, almost 5% more. So it looks like ETH is moving a little bit. Looks like some of these alts are moving a little bit down the line. You got XLM up 14%, Pepe's up almost 10. Unicorns up 14.6. Even Litecoin's getting into the action, 5.4. ETC, I don't even know what the hell coin that is up 13.5. It's the 28th biggest coin. Let me take a look at Chainlink. I skipped right by that. Chainlink's up 6.7.
Yeah, Chainlink's doing really well right now, especially compared to Ethereum. Are we able to share screen and I could go over some visuals?
Yeah, jump in.
Okay. You can see this?
Yep.
Okay. How's the audio?
Here you good.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so as you can see, we have that. What do we hit? 99 and a half?
99.7, depending on where you look.
Yeah. Let's look at Solana. Basically all the trend following indicators are pretty bullish right now. Like I have a long bias towards the market. But again, like it depends on your time horizons. A lot of people don't have an understanding of how long they want to be in the market, what they want out of the market. So it's important to understand your horizons, your time horizons, and then trade around that, really. And meme coins too, like for people that are newer to our channel, like we talked about, we already, the older people know about our theory behind meme coins, and we kind of have differences behind that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that for the people that are newer to the channel on your theory behind meme coins, and then I'll go into my theory behind meme coins.
Yeah, my meme coin stance hasn't changed. I think overall it's bad for crypto. I think there's a lot of degeneracy in the meme coins. I think people are looking to get rich quick. I think more often than not, somebody's going to come into a meme coin and lose money, leave with a bad taste in their mouth for the whole space, and may miss out on owning Bitcoin or some of the other coins that Troy supports in the crypto sphere as a result of that. Which, when we had this conversation last, we were talking about this at like a market cap of like what, 1.1, 1.2 trillion in crypto, and now we're over 3. So people that got washed out in meme coins back then missed out on a 3x already, and we're not even in the big part of the bull run yet. So, as we progress in this cycle, more people are going to go into these shit coins, these meme coins, and you're going to see the same thing play out. People are going to be exit liquidity. They're going to come in with their little bit of money and hope that they're going to be the next $100 to $1 million story. And more often than not, they may make a little bit, but stay around too long and then get flushed out. That's my stance. Hasn't changed.
If you're buying these coins, it's important to build systems behind them, not just gambling based on like TikTok. Like people, like there's a lot of hype behind it. Like we live in an attention economy, so there is like a part of my portfolio. Like we play it different. Like I like to chase the attention and position myself where I'm there and I'm enjoying the music while it's there, and then once the music stops, I run. But like there's different indexes you can use. Like this chart I have up right here is the altcoin season chart, and once we get above 75, we're pretty much in altcoin season. But we're on our way up. I think personally we're gonna start liquidity is gonna start going into Ethereum. Personally, what do you think about that? Do you think Bitcoin breaks 100K, or do you think this is just a pullback?
Be more specific. Of course, I think Bitcoin breaks 100K. When are we talking?
What'd you say?
I said, of course, I think Bitcoin breaks 100K, but what time frame are you talking about where I think it breaks it?
Just like within this cycle top, like this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it's of course, like what goes without saying at this point. Yeah, I'm thinking of like the top of this cycle is probably going to be somewhere closer to 2.5.
Yeah,
that's where my guess would be.
This chart right here shows the short liquidations. So we have a lot of people short this around 100K. So I think if we
even still right now,
it's a psychological resistance too. So this could definitely add fuel to the fire. So keep this in mind too, the liquidity maps.
So what do you think about, tonight, we're filming this podcast, and probably a lot of people, I would imagine, are hanging out with family or maybe getting ready to go to the bar. They're scrolling their feed. They might come across this, and they probably don't work tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving. So, there's no traditional markets open tomorrow. No traditional markets open Friday. A traditional market doesn't open again until Monday morning. So right now, if somebody wants to play a market, they have to play crypto. But usually in these type of times, there's low volume. So, we saw the price running today while markets were open. Markets have been closed for about 4 hours and change, and we still saw a little bit of movement. What do you think? Do you think there'll be enough volume for either direction, a move towards 100 and maybe a move back down to test 91, where we kind of like look like we set a resistance for where we bounced off of? Do you think do you think we'll just trade between maybe 96 and 97 for the next couple of days? What do you think? What is Tyler's telling you? What is Tyler's charts telling you?
Looking at the market, like it looks like the bids held up pretty well from that retest of that 90K level. So, and we're at the higher end of the range. So it looks bullish here. And I think like with all the short sellers at 100K, like we could really go up faster, because a lot of people are looking for the perfect entry. And I think the market is at a point after ranging and trading sideways for 8 months that they're not going to really. I don't think there's going to be a train stop. I think it's just going to keep accelerating and expanding. We will have those violent wick pullbacks, but I'm super long the market. Although I am starting to, and like beginning of the podcast when I was over diversified, um, I
60
I
plus coins
I have been going into cash for people that are watching us. Like I've been
already.
leverage, spot. I've been reducing my leverage and going into spot holdings. So basically, leverage is where you're borrowing against your asset, and spot is when you just buy the token and you just hold it idle sitting in your wallet. But I have been like selling some into USDC because I have a plan and I need to follow the plan. Even though like I know we're going to go higher. I just want to start cashing in a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's never a bad idea to. It's never a bad idea to have liquidity. Like you just never know. Like I don't think you should be all in on anything. I mean, I'm super bullish Bitcoin, and a large portion of my net worth is in Bitcoin, but like I still have to have liquidity. Like I still have to pay bills. So I don't think it's ever bad to, get some liquidity at different parts of the bull run, even if, people are telling you this is the time you should be all in. Like everybody's life situations and circumstances are different. There is no one size fits all. I want to talk real quick because you said something, and just in case we have some viewers that are watching that are unfamiliar, you said a couple of things, and I just want to like do some definition verifying for people. You talked about like spot positions, and when we talk about ETFs, they'll talk about a spot ETF, or they'll talk about the spot Bitcoin price, and what's the difference between owning the ETF, the spot ETF, or the spot Bitcoin price? Like what's the difference? Because a lot of people have exposure this cycle through the ETFs, and they think that they own Bitcoin because they own the Bitcoin ETF, so they have exposure to Bitcoin as an asset class, but they don't actually own Bitcoin, right? So that's kind of like the conversation that I'm going down towards. So there's a couple different ways that you can own Bitcoin, actually own Bitcoin. The best way is obviously self-custodied Bitcoin in a Trezor, in some sort of password protected wallet with a 12 seed or 24 seed passcode. That's self-sovereignty. That's where everybody should be hoping to get at some point in time when they're in Bitcoin. That's true ownership of Bitcoin. You can also own Bitcoin kind of partly, I guess you can kind of say, is if you have it on an exchange, if you have it on Coinbase, or you have it on Gemini, or you have it on Kraken, or any of the other plethora of exchanges that aren't available to us here in New York, but other people can have. You have the Bitcoin, you have the liquidity of the Bitcoin, you can sell it for fiat, you can trade it for another asset. So you have the Bitcoin, but you don't have the private keys. You have public keys. The exchange owns the private keys. So technically, you kind of share that Bitcoin. When you have a spot Bitcoin ETF with BlackRock, IBIT, or you have Fidelity, or any of the other ETFs, you have a paper contract. They have they actually don't even have the Bitcoin either, because all of those are custodying with Coinbase. So Coinbase has the Bitcoin. BlackRock, Fidelity, and all the other organizations have a contract for that Bitcoin. They make the trades at the end of business to do all their back and forth stuff, and you own a fiat value of that Bitcoin that you can trade in and out of and get cash or get liquidity if you want. So those are the different things, different ways that you can be exposed to this system. And the big one that I want to talk about today, this is a segue into this conversation, is owning MicroStrategy. So owning a stock, right? MicroStrategy is basically a leveraged ETF at this point of Bitcoin. It's what would you say, like a 3x leveraged spot Bitcoin ETF? I mean, that's basically what it's acting as now. Would you agree, Troy?
Yeah. It's got 3 times the beta.
Yeah. So, the conversation I kind of want to have today, I've been a big advocate. I'm a big fan. I still am. Even after this conversation, I still will be. But I do want to have this thought experiment. I want to talk about what's happening with MicroStrategy. I want to talk about Michael Saylor's strategy with MicroStrategy. And I want to talk about how this is going to potentially affect the overall market and potentially this bull run in particular. At this point in time, as we sit right now, MicroStrategy currently owns 386,700 Bitcoin. That's a lot of fucking Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of Bitcoin. And that's a lot of Bitcoin that they've acquired in a short period of time, even in the last 6 months. Just this week alone, MicroStrategy acquired 55,500 BTC this week alone, which was something like a 21.9 billion. I'm sorry, no, I'm getting the stats wrong. The 386,700 Bitcoin that they own, they acquired for 21.9 billion at a average price of 56,761 Bitcoin or per Bitcoin. So sitting at 96,000, they're up $40,000 on 386,700 Bitcoin. It's just insane the type of strategy that they've employed. But the thing that I want to talk about, and I kind of posed it in our group chat today that we're in, our alpha chat that we got with a bunch of different crypto guys and Bitcoin guys, is, he's buying at such a rapid pace, and he owns almost 2% of the total supply now. So now we're in this territory where MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor in particular are so like uniquely tied to Bitcoin, the thesis of Bitcoin, even so, and the ideology of Bitcoin, that if something were to happen to Saylor, whether it was like he just died for some reason, or got hit by a car, or died in a plane crash, or he did something nefarious, or the SEC came after him, or a shareholder sued him, or the company, so for some reason something shady was going on with the company, or all these different factors that are normal risks in normal publicly traded companies when you own their stock are available or potentially there, that I don't think quite affect Fidelity, IBIT, and all of those other ETFs quite the same, because those are financial institutions. MicroStrategy is not a financial institution, although Michael Saylor is speaking in terms of ideology that he has for the company to kind of like pivot it towards that, because he's talked about creating like a Bitcoin bank and being one of the early adopters of a way to safely, I guess you could say, borrow against your Bitcoin through some sort of vehicle that he wants to create. So maybe the plan is to turn towards some sort of financial institution, and I'm sure there's a lot of regulation that would go to do that. But the question that I pose to you in a long-winded way, because that's what I do and that's how I talk, is what do you think about the risks that MicroStrategy poses to Bitcoin and crypto now, even with all the good that it's done and probably price action we've had because of it?
It's doing really well. It's performing. I think it's one of the number one performing stocks right now. But unless they're selling Bitcoin, they're not going to be able to service their debt. Like they're taking out a bunch of debt. It's efficient. It's efficient debt, but
I think right now, currently, it's efficient
yeah,
debt.
Yeah, but I think it's just going to balloon into something worse. And I think this could be something that does affect the markets. Like this could be a black swan event in the future, and it's something to definitely keep your eyes out for.
What I do know about the 55,500 that he acquired this week, he took out a convertible debt note that doesn't expire until 2029. And when it expires, the owners of that convertible debt, it's a 0% bond, but what they can do at 2029 is take payment in shares of MicroStrategy. So what 2029 is 5 years away. So in 5 years, they can take MicroStrategy stock, and the ideology is that the stock will be worth significantly more. So they're giving up interest on a loan to get payment and profit on the stock. Now, all that works perfectly, obviously, in a bull market, right? So the thing is, like, his average buy price is continuing to rise. So if you remember, during the bear market, like when we were at the 20,000 level, he was still significantly higher over his average buy, where he would still not be margin called. It was like, I think he had leveraged it so hard at one point, we talked about it being like 3,300, where it would have to get to for him to even be in any sort of, or MicroStrategy to be any kind of issue. I don't know what that number is now, but we do know that his break-even number is 56,761. So if we do, which I think we probably will at some point, have another bear market, we're going to have to keep an eye on what that number is of where he's going to be underwater and out of profit with his Bitcoin holdings. Because
I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you buy a share of MicroStrategy?
Would I?
Yes. At its valuation right now, on a valuation perspective.
I think asking me that's a little bit unfair, only because I don't have any exposure to the stock market period right now, outside of the 403b that I still have from a previous employer that has mutual funds in it. Like, I guess you can count that. But individual stock ownership is not something that I've done for since the pandemic, when I was buying oil and casino stocks when the pandemic was happening, and I saw that it's basically printing free money. So I don't have any exposure to the stock market right now. So asking me that question is a little bit hard for me to answer, because
Yeah, but it's
I don't
not
own anything.
it's
So
not biased.
if I was a person that was exposed to the stock market and I was buying stocks and trading stocks and such, would I buy MicroStrategy here? I would probably want to have some exposure, because I don't think this is the bot. I don't think this is the top for MicroStrategy. So I think there's room for growth. So if I know there's room for growth and I'm a Bitcoiner and I'm a Bitcoin maxi, I would probably have exposure to MicroStrategy. And if you look on Twitter and you follow Bitcoin maxis, like Bitcoin maxis got hard-ons for MicroStrategy, which I that makes me nervous. Like, that's kind of why that's part of the reason why I'm even having this thought experiment, and I've been thinking about it, because like I'm seeing a lot of like hardcore Bitcoin maxis who are like Bitcoin, F the stock market, F all that, and there's like, oh, now they want to like have exposure to MicroStrategy because, Michael Saylor's our Bitcoin Jesus now, and he's doing all this great stuff with he talks a great game. I'm cautious. I'm always worried about something that could happen, like the inevitable happening, or I'm sorry, not the inevitable, the unthinkable happening, or the unexpected happening. And I think like the bigger that MicroStrategy gets, it's like a catch-22 double-edged sword. It's great because it'll keep the price going up, and it's great because of the exposure it gives to Bitcoin, but it increases the amount of risk that they'll carry, that something happens to them that we can't see happening, and that will have a detrimental effect on Bitcoin, because you never know. I mean, think about even a bad market swing, right? Even a bad market swing, which let's say we're in a world where the traditional markets just crater, but Bitcoin skyrockets. Okay, say they go in inverse directions. Bitcoin's going this way, stock market's going that way. He's still a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange, and he has debt. And he has shareholders, and if he has a liquidity problem, where is he going to get the liquidity from? He may never want to sell. I don't think I genuinely believe he plans never to sell Bitcoin. But you are in charge of a company that continues to grow. It's a growing monster. So at some point, there may be a scenario where you have to be prudent for your shareholders and for your company, that you may have to just sell some Bitcoin to just satisfy some obligations that you don't have capital in other places that you'd be able to service that obligation, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Am I able to share my screen? I got a cool chart I want to show you.
Rich, can he share his screen? I don't know what's.
Do you see it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
You can see it. Where was it? This one right here. So this is the MicroStrategy market cap to Bitcoin holdings, and you can see their unrealized gains right here. What are they up on Bitcoin? Like 150%, $13 billion.
Yeah, they're up a ton.
Yeah. And the stock is absolutely, like, it hit I believe 540. It was just at like I remember it being at 160 like three weeks ago. Here, I can pull it up. Let's pull it up. Do you see my screen still?
Yeah, I got it on my iPad too. I got the live on the iPad, so I can see it better down here.
Yeah, so you can see this is parabolic.
I mean, it's insane. I mean, there was a time, I think we talked about it. Maybe last week. The weeks are all running together because I was in Dallas. It's either last week or this week I think it was last week. MicroStrategy traded as the number one trading volume stock for the first time in forever, that it wasn't the Mag 7 leading that. They led the stock exchange in volume on trading because of how just like parabolic, like everybody who's anybody. I think even guys that are like non-Bitcoiners that like shit on Bitcoin but are like pro stock market guys have exposure to MicroStrategy because it's printing. It's literally printing. And I looked at their quarterly, like their quarterly earnings and their balance. Like they lost like $100 million in their actual business last quarter, which is nothing compared to the tens of billions they have coming in with Bitcoin. So it's like I couldn't even tell you like the MicroStrategy product, like what they're doing or how that's. I just know that they're operating at a loss in one section of the company, which basically means nothing at this point because it's just turned into a Bitcoin company. It's a leveraged Bitcoin play. That's the company. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's just wild to like take a step back and look at that a company on the New York Stock Exchange, publicly traded company, is basically said, you know, we had a product for 20 something years in technology, and now we're just a Bitcoin company, and we buy Bitcoin and we appreciate when Bitcoin appreciates, and it's just crazy. It's crazy. No other company will be able to get 380,000 Bitcoin.
Remember the GBTC outflows, ETF outflows?
Yep.
In the beginning of the ETFs, you can see them right here, and you can see all the inflows. BlackRock, we have Kathy Woods. What's HODL? Do you know who Van Eck? We got. I mean, we've been getting a lot of.
Kathy Wood is Van Eck, right?
We're getting a lot of buying in the ETF.
Well, this sell-off that we had in the last week was largely due to long-term holders, which a long-term holder is classified as anybody that has held longer than 155 days, which to somebody like me, that's not a long-term holder. It's funny that that's considered a long-term
rally,
holder.
The last 7 days has been strictly spot rally. We're in a spot rally right now, which is good. We want to see that.
Yeah, the reason why we only went down to like 91 or 92 and we didn't drop further is because of the ETFs, which I think MicroStrategy and the ETFs are two things that we've never had before to this extent in any other cycle. I mean, MicroStrategy started this in at the beginning of the middle of the last cycle, so it wasn't fair to totally account for that. But having MicroStrategy, having all the ETFs now, I think unless something absolutely catastrophic happens macroeconomic wise or geopolitical, I just don't see like a deep bear market in our future. I think we see a cool off. I think we don't see I think we see a top. I don't know if it will be a blow off top, but I think we'll see a top like we normally do. But I don't think we're going to see like an 80% Bitcoin drop and a 95% altcoin drop like we have before, because there's just too much. There's too much going on now that wasn't before. And I think as the ecosystem gets bigger and bigger, if this thing, I mean, we're basically now around where we were at the top of the last cycle, total market cap wise, right? We were around 3 trillion total market cap last time.
Yeah,
right?
we're a bit over that now.
Because Bitcoin dominance is just so high. Like we're still sitting at, I think 57%. I think I saw 57% Bitcoin dominance, which is very large for this point of the cycle. Still, in my opinion, I think is still pretty large. And I think that you know what's crazy? I'm starting to see people make videos of Bitcoin's going to have the top's like 3 or 4 months away. Like it's going to be an earlier cycle. Like I'm seeing the video start of like people trying to get engagement. They're trying to say something that's a little bit different than everybody else because that's what gets the clicks.
Well, listen,
and people are.
I've been here. I mean, I've been here. This is my second cycle. Like I was a tourist the first cycle, but I'm starting to get texts from, or not even texts. I'm just seeing like people post like shitcoin profits, and they don't come around until like the last time they were here was like 2021 in that phase, like right after the pandemic, and we're leading into another expansion. So like that's just another signal that things are starting to get overhyped, you know, which is good for the people that have been building. But you know, what do you have you been getting? You've been getting a lot of messages too as well.
Yeah, messages. I've set up 2 people in the past week with Gemini accounts to start buying Bitcoin that didn't own Bitcoin before, and I believe one of the guys is buying some crypto as well. Shout out to Jeremy Daniels. Shout out to Brian Devontier. Those are the 2 guys that I helped set up this week. I don't think they'll have a problem with me throwing their names out there. Yeah, so and I've got other DMs from other people that are just asking me questions, and I'm at the point in the cycle where this is why we did this. This is why we have this channel to help and educate people. I'm answering every person that sends me a DM. I'm trying to answer it within the hour if I can. If I'm not on an appointment, if I'm not meeting with a client, or I'm not busy with my family, I've tried to do my best to answer as quickly and swiftly and eloquently as possible, and then try to answer the follow ups as well because this is the time. This is we the time was the last 2 years we were doing this podcast, but like now is the if people are going to do things
It's
like
really
now is
ramping
the
up.
time before the parabola, like the FOMO. The FOMO will be too late. The FOMO will be
What do you think
telling people their
about
exit
what do you
liquidity.
think about a Thanksgiving rally? Everyone's going to be talking about it. I feel like everyone's going to be home. Like people are going to be trading. I feel like there's going to be a lot of volatility.
In 2020, we had a little bit of a dip during Thanksgiving, and
Yeah.
we didn't get the run until after we got the December run. And I just think that that's because of just normal trading. Like you're not going to have a lot of volume, so I don't think there's enough volume to make it go in either direction. We might see like a $1,000 to $3,000 drop, maybe a $1,000 to $3,000 pump. I don't think we pass 100 in the next couple of days, and I don't think we go below 90 in the next couple of days. I think it could go anywhere from, honestly, in my opinion, if I had to guess, we could go from anywhere between 91 and 98.5 in the next 4 days, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, ETFs aren't trading, MicroStrategy's not trading. Those are big players, so there's nothing going on there. And then people are traveling for Thanksgiving. People are. Did we lose him? He's still there. We lost his camera for a moment. We lost your camera, Troy. All right, he's back. Yeah, so you got Mike. Like I said, just to recap, MicroStrategy in the Bitcoin ETFs are not trading for 4 days, and then people are traveling. You got to remember, people are traveling either today or they were traveling, and then they're going to be traveling Friday or Saturday back to their regular home or wherever their original destination was. So I just don't think there's going to be enough volume for anything to happen major in the next couple of days. So we're going to trade into a range probably, if I had to guess. The real question is when, and to a lot of Bitcoin maxis, if I know not to you, but to a lot of Bitcoin maxis, is the alt season run going to really start? What do you think about that? Because that's your area. When's altcoin season?
I think we're starting to. Well, I looked at the ETH Bitcoin ratio and it's starting to show a positive rate of change. So basically, what leads off to altcoin seasons, you can see money's flowing out of we had fresh liquidity in Bitcoin, money's flowing out of it, and it goes down the risk spectrum. People are taking profits and rolling it into like Ethereum, rolling into altcoins, and then you have like the meme coin rally. So I'm keeping a close eye on that. I've been rebalancing because I truly believe like being at least 10% allocated to altcoins. Like I know Don, you even have some altcoins in your portfolio, and it's good, because I want to stack more Bitcoin. Like I'm not converting into like cash unless like I have like something really like important to pay. But Bitcoin is my cash. Like it's like hard to go back after using Bitcoin to go back to the traditional system. Does that make sense? Like I just made a tweet about it. Like it's like using an iPhone and then going back to a pager. Someone telling you to like go back to a pager. And it's just like it's so like convenient. Like it's so because I actively use the chain. You know what I mean? Like I know you more use it as a store of value, and you're not really doing like trading and like doing different things on chain.
Yeah,
You know,
not at all.
we've seen even the NFT market had a nice update the other day. So I think we will have like that time. Sandbox was up 70%. So I'm keeping an eye on these things, and I personally use Sandbox. Like I have a Sandbox plot of land, and I think it's pretty cool. You can build.
Did you see that pumped? Like the other day was up like 75% in one day. That coin.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but
Yeah,
like it doesn't mean
and
I
it's
have to.
still nowhere near close to the all-time high.
I'm not marrying this thing too. Like I'm just using it to accumulate more Bitcoin. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let me ask you a question. So we're getting to the part of the cycle where we're really gonna. It's almost like not the home stretch, but like we're in that straightaway where we can just sprint. Like we can really get the wind behind us now. What's your goal by this time next year? Not fiat value, percentage value of your portfolio being Bitcoin. Let me ask you this: what percentage of your portfolio is Bitcoin now? What percentage of your portfolio would you like to be Bitcoin when we are at what we see to be the end of the cycle, or the end of this part of the cycle?
Right now, I'm at about 15%.
You're up to 15.
Yeah, I'm up to 15.
That's about 3 times bigger than times you've said before. You were at like 5% before.
Ethereum's like 20, 25. So, 50% of my portfolio is in majors: Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum, because I feel like those are the dominant assets to hold, and they're the most optimal, and they're outperforming everything else. ETH is underperforming a little bit, but I've been holding ETH for a while now. But I also like AVAX too, because that I built a system around that, and that's looking like it has a rate of change on the bullish bias. So there's these things that I'm keeping an eye out for, because I truly like these coins, not as a long-term like time horizon, just like to accumulate more Bitcoin.
What are you hoping what's your goal for percentage of your portfolio in Bitcoin by the end of the cycle? Where would you like to be?
At least 50%.
At least 50. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a 10x from where you basically started. You spent the bear market around 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a 10x. That's not bad. It's not
there's
bad.
Going to be another bear. Like, the markets are cyclical, so like I'm going to accumulate more when it's down a little bit. But do you think the low for next cycle could be this high?
You mean in the 90s?
Yeah.
How wild would that be?
That would be great.
You know how different? It's crazy because it feels good to be at 96 right now. And it's like every cycle, it's like, I remember, like, let me take some time to express this, because I think it has a little bit of value, because I've been in 4 cycles. You could say I was a tourist. You could say I was a tourist in 2013, 2014, but this is like the 16, 17 cycle, the 2021 cycle, and now this cycle. Like I'm in it. I've been in it. So I would say, like, when we got to 20K in 2017, that was amazing, right? It felt so good. And we were there for such a short amount of time. It was like 12 days that we spent in that like little bit of run up in range, and then it just died out, right? So 20 felt so good in 2017. Yet in 2022, 20 felt so shitty. You know what I mean? And then now we're at 96, right? And the top of last cycle was 69. If we dropped to 69 right now, 69 would feel terrible, right? But like 20 felt great, and 20 felt shitty. 69 felt great, 69 would feel shitty. And here we are sitting at 96. If we top out where I feel we could, let's say we get to 250 this cycle, and then we come back down to 96 sometime in 2026 or 2026, we come down to 96. It will feel a whole hell of a lot different than it feels sitting here at 96 right now, which is a psychological mind F, right? It shouldn't be that way, especially because we're long-term holders, especially I'm not moving anything, and it's just, but like, you're human and you have those human emotions. So I get it. I can only imagine how people who are irrational in these markets, they make their decisions. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to have that thought experiment and think about that and conceptualize that. It's just like, it feels different at different times.
Cherry picking price is a fool's game, honestly.
Absolutely, 100%.
So,
but to answer your question, if we get to 150 and that's the top, I feel like somewhere between 60 and 75 could maybe be the bottom. Maybe because it'll be like the old top, 69-ish. Because that's kind of how we've played it out. The old top ends up being the bottom of the cycle, because we got 15, 20. So I think we could potentially get 60 to 70 as our bottom if we hit 150, because I think that's about where we would have been. But I think with all this other stuff, MicroStrategy and the ETFs, I think it's possible we go above 2 and hit 250. If that's the case, then maybe somewhere in the 90 to 100 range becomes the bottom. Now, I you got a lot of people that I respect, right? It's not the crazy ones, because every cycle you got the crazy ones saying the crazy prices. You have people I respect, right? You got Lawrence Leopold, you got Samson Mao, you got Max Kaiser's kind of crazy. He says every cycle, but you have guys that like have been here for a minute and get it, that are saying that they're not saying it's out of the cards for us to go to 500 this cycle. I think it's like, if I had to throw a number out there, I would say it's like a 5% chance.
Yeah, no.
I'm not saying it's zero, but like they seem to say like a 1 in 4 chance. Like they think it's like a 20 to 25% chance that we get there.
Wood's base case.
I know she's another one, but she's incentivized by having a fund. So I kind of discount her. She's incentivized to say those type of things and get people to get excited.
I trust her, because in 2020 I just bought all the stuff instead of her ETF for ARK. I just bought all the tech stocks individually in the fund, and I did really well. Obviously, like Square did really well. Nvidia was a great play. Like those were all in her ETFs, so like I have a good feeling for her, but like that's still ridiculous. Like at least this cycle, like I'm not saying that like this will not happen in the future, but like this cycle, like I don't think the probabilities are high for that. You know, we were
supposed to last cycle hit 100. You're not supposed to have a double top in a cycle. Last cycle was the first time we had a double top, and we only had the double top because of all the manipulation in FTX, Celsius, BlockFi, and Genesis. All that nonsense that was going on behind the scenes was suppressing the price, gave us a double top, and we didn't hit 100 last cycle. If we would have hit 100 last cycle, we would be talking about 350 this cycle. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
If we topped at where we should have topped last cycle, which probably would have been in the 100 to 125 range, that's where we should have went. If we did, we'd be talking about 3 or 350. So that's why I think like this cycle, maybe we make up for last cycle, this cycle, now that we have the ETFs and MicroStrategy and all this other shit going on. That's why I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for us to rocket past numbers that neither one of us are really expecting. I'm expecting between 150 and 250. Anywhere in that range, I'm expecting. Anything above 250 is I'll be pleasantly surprised. Anything below 150, I'll be disappointed.
What do you think about the total crypto market cap? Do you think we can hit 10 trillion this cycle?
If we hit 10 trillion, it's because Bitcoin is above 300.
That's a 210% return just on the total crypto market cap. But again, Bitcoin's dominance is 60% of that. But,
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it, for us to get to 10 trillion, I think Bitcoin's got to go above 250.
Oh, what do you feel about this, Don? Bitcoin dominance is down a little bit.
What's it at?
It's at 58% down.
58? It was at 57 when we started the podcast.
Was it? I remember it hit the top at 61.
Well, yeah, I mean it's down from with the high, but like we were at 5706 when we started the podcast.
Traders want to see the Bitcoin dominance decrease.
Of course. That's a sign that altcoin season is starting. Like typically in altcoin season, like you would know this better than me because I don't pay attention to shit coins.
Oh, this looks so good.
What's a for you? I'll say this for you, not for me, obviously. What's a juicy Bitcoin dominance for a shitcoin trader? What would you like to see? What licks your lips for Bitcoin dominance?
Go down to 40%.
So 40? That's about where you in.
I think that would be the bottom though. You know what I mean? Like it's I'm gonna be like in altcoins on the way up to 40%. I'm not gonna just wait till it hits 40% and like allocate to altcoins because you'll be late to the party. You know what I mean? So. But no,
was 61 the top so far this complete cycle from this 4-year cycle? That was the top.
Yes, 61 was the top.
That's high. I mean that's
high.
Numbers we haven't seen since there was 100 coins in the market since it was like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Potcoin, Ethereum, and you know I can't even remember some of the other coins that were around then that aren't even around anymore. I just remember Potcoin because it was funny.
You heard of AVAX before, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I just entered AVAX long. This thing looks really good, dude.
Not financial
Yeah, but
advice.
I've been creating these systems. I mean, I could talk a little bit about it. It's basically
Yeah, go ahead.
you're just taking trend following indicators and you're programming them around your time horizons. So as you can see, we have like a perfect, and they fire. You can construct them so that they fire off at your desired time, like your time preference. Like I would want to be in here. I'd want to be in here. I'd want to capture these moves because these moves, when you see the signal green, it's up because you're not buying bottoms and selling tops. You're like buying higher once you have overall understanding of the direction of the trend, and then you sell once you have confirmation that we're starting to reverse. And this is just one indicator, but you can see this is like a huge return. But since 2021, this is only one, two, three, four, five, 7 trades. So you're not like actively trading like a day trader. You're more like long term, riding out the trends. Um, but you can see like I do these vertical lines at the points that I want to be in the trade, and they fire out pretty good. So like this, I already got in this a little bit. I'm up 90% on it. Um, but you can take like leverage on these tokens because this is like a token that's trading at $43 a coin. You know, you need a big lump sum of money to like make it like unless you're holding it really like throughout the cycle. But if you want to capture like a 20% move, like $1,000 on like 4x leverage, could go a long way. Um, let's see, let's pull up another indicator. Like, and all the indicators have constructive interference with each other. So they kind of fire at the same time. Like you can see this goes green here. I wouldn't want to be in this. Well, this actually have to change the inputs on a Excel spreadsheet, but this is a false signal. So what you can do is kind of just go in and adjust the inputs to make it meet your criteria. And then every indicator has different inputs for different cryptos, but I'm using this to like get an edge in the market. And as you can see, like AVAX is another layer one. There's a bunch of games built on top of it. I know Ninja just was playing one of the number one games on AVAX, and it's getting mainstream attention. Like I like the tech, I use the tech, I'm playing the games on the platform, so I can see value in these things. Because like the whole part of this, and especially with Bitcoin and people building that conviction, is doing your research so you have like because you have to make big bets, right? Like unless you're buying Bitcoin in 2013 and you're throwing in like that's still a risk because you're holding it for 20 years, but like you have to understand what you're investing in, like believe in it and do your 1,000 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to tell anybody that's watching the podcast, if you are watching us on Facebook, please share this, like this. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment. If you're on X, please retweet, please like, share with a friend. We're trying to get out there and help people understand these markets a little bit better, especially if you're local in our area. You know, as far as me and Troy know, we're the only guys that are doing this on a podcasting level in the Western New York area. So if you're in Western New York and you're into crypto and you're into Bitcoin, you should be watching this podcast. You should be sharing it with somebody. You should be interacting with us. Be a part of the team. I just want to, you got me nostalgic with these
Oh, this
charts. I
looks
remember
good.
the early days of the podcast when you do all this chart shit on the computer screen, and I just started thinking about the days when we had like 2 people as a subscriber and we were just talking to each other and not other people.
Now the price is moving a lot, so like I feel like people want to see the coins, and I just go over some of like the
Yeah.
price action that's going on in the market. We have a whole list of different coins that we're trading, so keep your options open is really what it's about.
Yeah, and like you're getting messages and I'm getting messages. The best way to interact with us is in our content. Like interact with us on Twitter, interact with us here on the podcast. Every week we film live. So every week we're going to be on Facebook, we're going to be on X, we're going to be on our YouTube channel. If you ask a question, especially on YouTube, because we got the YouTube chat up. If you ask a question on the YouTube chat, we'll be able to answer it right in real time. But even if it's not in real time and you do it on our Facebook or our X, we'll be able to get to it and we can talk about it in a future podcast. We want this to be interactive. Like I said, we are the only crypto podcasts that are filming in our region, in our area. So there's a lot of people that will comment that they're into crypto on my Facebook specifically. So I know the people out there are into this shit. So like, here's a spot where like you can actually talk to people. I have 11 years in this space. Troy's got 7, 8 years in this space. So we have almost 20 years combined in this space, you know, knowledge, experience, understanding. We can break shit down. We're not, you know, these big channels where you're going to get a bot that's going to comment back to you. Like, we're real people. So gives you the opportunity to talk, to interact, get questions answered, to get a better understanding. I think that's powerful. I think it's good that we're doing this, and I hope as we ramp up, more people take advantage of what we're offering for essentially free, just to interact with us and use us as vessels to better understand this market and understand crypto.
Yeah.
In Bitcoin.
Yeah. And it's great to see like the progression, like throughout the process. You know, this has been a fun journey. It's been keeping me like close to the market and dialed in to like what is now coming to fruition, especially like as far as just being heavily invested in this space and doing the research and then sharing what you've learned to like everyone in the ecosystem is a great positive, and it's a net positive for the space. And we're going to continue to keep doing this, whether it's a bear market, a bull market, a ranging market. Like, we're here for it all. This is a lifestyle, you know, and it's the future. Like, this is disruptive technology. It's going to be so big that we're not even going to realize that we're using a lot of this technology. It's just going to be like the underlying tech on a lot of the things and how we interact online. So that's cool to be a part of emerging space like this. It's kind of like getting involved in the early internet days, you know, the adoptions at the same pace as the internet, you know, so, but, you know, just keep building.
I shared this with you before we got on, but I'll tell the viewers. I shared that short video that we made from our podcast last week, where I was reading that tweet and I kind of got emotional during that tweet. I shared it with the author of that tweet, and he responded fairly quickly back to me and said he appreciated, you know, me, you know, sharing his content and, you know, getting emotional over that content. And it's like, you know, he felt good. Like, this, we're all creating content. We're all in this space together. Like, he felt good to hear, you know, somebody else get power from his message and his, you know, his tweet. And it's the same thing. Like, you know, we're not asking for anybody to give us money. We're not asking for any donations. Like, just asking questions and sharing our content. Like, that's how we get paid. That's our, and I'm not saying paid in like the monetary terms, just in like, you know, appreciation and stuff like that, you know? And I was watching a Max Kaiser interview earlier today, and he shared that a 9-year-old kid in El Salvador came up to him and asked him, "Hey Max, am I too early to Bitcoin?" And he thought about it. Or no, I'm sorry. Am I too late to Bitcoin? Not too early. Am I too late to Bitcoin? He asked Max. And Max like was taken aback that a 9-year-old kid would ask him that, for one. And for two, he thought about it and he said, "No, kid, you're not too late to Bitcoin. I was too early to Bitcoin, because what Bitcoin is truly going to do and how it's going to truly change things, I'll be far dead by the time it really has its true impact. So I'll miss all that," because he's an older guy. So he's like, I was too early. He's like, even though because he got Bitcoin in like $1, like he's insanely wealthy from Bitcoin. So not from a monetary standpoint, but from like the societal impact of Bitcoin, like a lot of us are going to miss that. So yeah, we're early in the terms of like, we got there at a price point, but like the generations that are coming after us are going to be there just at the right time to be able to benefit from all the things that we've been talking about, how, you know, change the money, change the world, all those things, like, you know, ending wars and ending poverty, giving people a chance to get their sovereignty back, banking the unbanked, like all those things that we talk about that Bitcoin does. Like, we were early to the price appreciation, and I believe that like this thing goes to millions and multi-millions. So like, even coming in now, you're still monetarily early, but like we were too early to seeing the true impact that it's going to have, which is going to far exceed any monetary value that a price point will have.
That's a great point.
I thought it was awesome when I saw that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm excited.
So we're too early.
You think I'll be here for it to see the impact?
Yeah, it'll probably in your lifetime, like you'll be like, maybe, I mean, I'm 46. I mean, I could live to be 86, 96 maybe. I mean, maybe I start to see it potentially.
Mhm.
Um maybe I start to see it, but I think, like I said, like I don't think we're in a pretty soon world where Bitcoin supplants the US dollar. I think it may never happen. I don't know how I feel either way, one way or another, on that, because gold has been around. It survived 1971. Gold didn't go anywhere. Like, we took ourselves off the gold standard, and gold's worth infinite amounts more than it was worth in 1971. It was like $35 in 1971, and here we are sitting at what? Gold's at almost 3K. So like, it 100x from that point. So we don't need to be backing the US dollar to survive. Like, we don't need to be the world reserve currency to survive. We don't need to be trading it to survive. We don't need to buy Starbucks to survive. It can just be a means to change the way we view money, to change the way we interact with one another, change the way that we view ideologies, change the way that we view macroeconomics, change the way that we view geopolitics. Like, those are the impacts and the things that it'll have. And that's why, like, yeah, we were early to the monetary aspect, but we were too early to the true impact that I believe Bitcoin's going to have. Bitcoin is going to change lives, not because it's going to make people rich. It's going to make life better. And it'll make life better 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years from now, because the last Bitcoin is going to be mined in 114 years from now. I'm sorry, 116 years from now. So we got a long way to go, way longer than either one of us will be on the planet. So we're at the apex, we're at the genesis of a revolution that we will not fully get to see and realize.
Your Bitcoin will outlive you.
Yep.
Far outlive you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's a strong spot to
Yeah.
end. I know that we have a couple of minutes, but I think it's good to end it there. I think we said a lot. Again, I want to reiterate, if anybody's popping in a little bit later, the best way to support our channel is if you're watching it on Twitter, if you're watching it on X, if you're watching it on YouTube, like the content, subscribe to the content, follow us if you don't follow us, share the content with other people. We are the only two individuals. We are the only podcast in Western New York. We are definitely the only podcast in Niagara Falls, New York, that covers Bitcoin, that covers crypto. A lot of people are hitting us up. A lot of people are asking us questions. The best way to interact, the best way to say thank you for the information we give, is to share our content, subscribe to our channel, like the content, yada, yada, yada. Don't trust, verify. It's about to get fun. Peace.
Peace.